A woman fears she has been slowly poisoned by the mold in her old flat, causing years of exhaustion, memory loss, and hair loss. Emma Marshall, 29, lived in a property in Hackney, East London, which had thick black mold in the bathroom for a year in 2014. Since then, her health has steadily declined, as symptoms such as brain fog, headaches, and skin rashes took over and sucked the life out of her. Ms. Marshall, who works in the music industry, was passed around various doctors. But none of them seemed to know why her body was so weak. At the end of last year, Ms. Marshall, who said she was bedbound due to her symptoms, paid to see a private functional medical doctor who works in alternative medicine. A urine sample revealed her levels of mycotoxin, caused by mold, were off the chart. Ms. Marshall said, "When I met with the functional medicine doctor, we talked about the kind of environment I lived and worked in. As soon as I said I started to feel unwell in 2014, when I lived in the flat, something clicked. Since then, my body has broken and continued to be slowly poisoned over the years." Before 2014, Ms. Marshall was the picture of health, enjoying a fast-paced life working London. She moved out of the flat in Hackney to be closer to her new job, unaware of the string of health issues that were to come. Ms. Marshall said, "I'd had a few symptoms, like acne, exhaustion, and aches and pains throughout my body, but I thought it was down to stress and working a lot. People are used to living around mold and not knowing what it's doing to their body, and, at that point, I had never heard of mycotoxins." In February 2015, Ms. Marshall began to see serious changes in her health. She had a serious kidney infection, which resulted in her needing a catheter, a thin, flexible tube used to empty the bladder, to be fitted for 2 weeks. Then, in April, she had a nasty fall in the street and fractured her arm. But the fall led to nerve pain so terrible in her arm, shoulder, and neck, she was barely able to move. Ms. Marshall then needed her appendix removed, after experiencing severe abdominal pain. For months, she was passed around various different doctors. But none seemed to know why her body was reacting so extremely. Ms. Marshall said, "Nobody ever questioned why my body broke down so severely in so many different ways. I was simply called unlucky because the doctors couldn't find anything. You think it's all in your head and so just feel like you have to get on with it. It is a very isolating place to be in, though knowing something is wrong and not being heard tests your strength and makes you feel like you're screaming into an abyss." She said, "I would wonder why I couldn't do certain things, but then also had to just accept how I was as my new normality. At my worst, I could only just about manage getting a taxi to work. Then I'd go home and go straight to bed. People would think I was just being dramatic, which would make me isolate myself even more." Towards the end of 2018, at rock bottom, Ms. Marshall took to the internet desperate for answers. and stumbled across a page about mycotoxin poisoning. After researching more, she became convinced that is what she had, and paid to see a private functional medicine doctor who looks at patients holistically and tries to determine the root cause, rather than treating individual symptoms. In February 2019, she was shocked to discover that her levels of mycotoxins, which, according to the World Health Organization, WHO, are naturally occurring toxins produced by mold, and can pose a serious health threat, were sky-high. Convinced it was breathing in toxins while living in the moldy flat that triggered her nightmare, Ms. Marshall said, "The results really shocked me. I figured I'd likely have some mycotoxins in my system, but the doctor told me my levels were off the charts." He asked how I felt, and I said,